Hello everybody, so this is the second video on my hammer tutorial series. So just like last time, we're going to need two things for this. Portal 2 and Portal 2 authoring tool. So load up Portal 2 authoring tools and you should get a menu like this. Hammer world editor and let's do new. So in this tutorial we will be covering buttons and logic. Now, last time we went over geometry, lighting, and models, and that was like it, wasn't it? Geometry, lights, models, and decals. So if you want to know how to do things, just pop over to my first tutorial video. Don't feel like re-explaining things. So let's make our room again. Oh right, reshade. Yeah, reshade's gonna do some things. If things look a little wonky on this 3D view or any of the views really, yeah, that's just my shading program. I did not mean to delete that. So maker walls, I usually have my walls 64 units thick. They shouldn't, the thickness of the wall shouldn't really change anything gameplay wise, as far as I know at least. So we have our nice room here. Now let's spawn our player in. Give ourselves the portal gun. And if you want directional lights, which isn't what we used in the last episode, you want to do a light underscore spot. And this will give us a directional light rather than a light that's 360 degrees, I guess. So basically, to get buttons, pretty easy. Like button, and you have pop underscore button and pop underscore floor button. Let's place these down. And as you can see, we have a button here. If we were to load up the map right now, it would be pretty empty, really. Just a button and us. So let's add a box. This box will be the indicator on whether our thing is on or off. We're going to place a light above it. This box will light up whenever the button is pressed. That's what we are going for creating right now. So let's make this a green light. So it's going to be a very bright light. So let's make this play timer sound by clicking that and make it have a 3-second delay before reset by setting delay before reset value to 3 by clicking on our property that we want to change and changing our value in this input box. If you want to know how to get into properties, pretty sure I showed that when using the models in the first video. So to set up our logic, we go into outputs, and here we have a list of all the outputs this button is doing. Let's click add and say we want it so when our button is pushed down, our green light turns on. So on first. Actually, something I forgot to do. If you want an entity, which is a button or a light, in your level to be referred by another entity, basically talked about or referenced from another entity, you need to give it a name. Let's just name this light underscore indicator, because this will be our indicator on, whenever this is flashed. So in here, on the target entities named, we should now have light indicator in here because that's the name of our entity. Now we have a whole bunch of stuff we want to worry about turning on and off. So let's do turn on and apply. Now let's go back into our light and go into flags and tick initially dark. This makes it so when we load up the map, we'll start with the light off, basically. Because that's what initially dark means. Initially off. So, let's have a look at our map. Probably won't look the same as yours due to me using V-Shade, a shading program. So, we just gotta wait for it to load. Just give it a couple minutes. Imagine if it did take a couple minutes to load a map. So, as you can see, there's no light. Right, it's a portable room. But when we press that, it turns on. But our button went back up and it still hasn't turned off. Oh, I forgot to set this to yes, which basically means when you press it, it stays down before the reset. And you can change the length of the reset with the delay before reset, and you can make it play the timer sound with this. So, go in here, copy, paste, and change on first to on button reset, and change turn off to turn on to turn off. Now, save, recompile the map. Now, if we reload it in here, we can see it turns on and turns off. So, we've just made logic with a nice button. So, we want to add a floor button with a cube. So, here's our floor button. Let's position it, and it's basically the same. Except instead of on button reset, it's... Actually, let's make a separate indicator for that. It crashes a lot. Pretty sure you should expect that. Great, I didn't save the other button. But yeah, also when it crashes, for some reason these, whenever it loads up a map from the quick load thing that happens whenever it didn't close properly, for some reason those are always broken and I don't know why. So, let's place it here. And get our floor button out. Now we're going to want to give this a different name, because if they're named the same thing, well, the thing that's referring to this one will be at the same time referring to the other one, which we may not want it to do. So make sure they have a different name. Unless you want this button to refer to both of them at the same time, then giving them the same name would work, but that means you then can't refer to them separately. If you're having trouble following me, that's because I'm probably the worst person you could have watched for tutorials. I'm terrible at giving tutorials. So, let's do the same thing, but instead of on button reset, we do on first. So, oops. Turn off. So, now when we press this button, it should turn on. When we press this button, that should turn on. And when this is unpressed, this should turn off. And when this resets, this should turn off. Now, to get cubes, we don't use a physics. we use the weighted cube. I'm pretty sure that's because this has like tags or something that lets it know whether this should activate cube buttons, sphere buttons, or just regular buttons. So that's why you should use the cube instead of the fox. If you don't understand, like I said, first person you could have picked was me. Absolutely 0% recommend me. Don't recommend myself at all. So as you can see, we now have this button, and works. And another thing on lighting that I may say, if you want things to have a bit higher quality, like the shadows to have a bit more quality, let's go into 3D light map grid for this thing to view, which you can change by clicking on that, and you can see the light map grid. Basically, every tile can have a different light value. This one could be a 5, and this one could be a 3. The one with the 5 will appear brighter. That's basically my way of explaining. That's almost definitely not how it works. So let's select our entire map, click our toggle texture application tool, and in here we can change it to something like 4. Now, as you can see, there are a whole bunch of more tiles. Now, this will make it take longer to compile the map, yet it will have way better quality. Like, look, see that difference? Hopefully you see that difference. That is a kind of not too big difference, but it's still a difference. So yeah, I guess that's it for this map, for this tutorial. So, goodbye. Hope you have a good time at home.